Hi, welcome back to Fun Bites Bake Along 2.0. On here on the second week, meeting you live on both Facebook Fun Bites Bake Along group and on Instagram Fun Bites page as well. We will be live every Friday on 4:30 p.m. and I'll be there baking a new dish, a new something to bake with a recipe that I've tried over the week and that I'm pretty sure is going to work for you guys if you're going to try in the exact same way that I will be demonstrating you during the live here. Okay, so this whole thing that you can see, today is my birthday and my team had surprised me with a really lovely arrangement and all that. And I didn't think of it. So the live was scheduled to go on today, irrespective of being the birthday or whatever. And I didn't want to remove this. It looked really pretty. So that's a birthday and live on that day. So, okay, so don't mind this lovely balloons behind me and it says happy birthday. Okay. I'm just looking at that device to see if there are any comments. Okay, so let me start with what I'm going to do today. You have seen the posters which said shortbread thumbprint cookies. The recipe card is shared like, an hour ago or 30 minutes before the live. Thank you for your birthday wishes. Thank you so much. So the recipe card is shared. You could refer the recipe card. The instructions are also very clearly given there for you to refer it. Okay, and so I have the ingredients measured with me. So when I was looking for what could be the second bake along, I was finding something that will be very attractive and also quite simple because we have to just warm up. I really don't want to, kind of go to something very advanced because I want most of you to participate and keep it very simple. So thumbprint cookies looked very attractive and I wanted to do that. And then it was like the shortbread thumbprint cookies that I had shortlisted. And then I also thought shortbread cookies by in itself is a very, very melt in the mouth, buttery and tender cookie. And I wanted everybody to enjoy the cookie as it is. So in the live, now I'm going to divide the dough into two. Half of it I'm going to make it as thumbprint itself, like the one that is there in the poster. And the other half I am going to make it a log and show you how to bake shortbread cookies as it is. So if you are someone who wouldn't want too much sweetness in the cookie, then you could do the entire portion like the second half, the log part. um, my choice was the log part, the shortbread cookies plain with a buttery flavor just bursting out and melting in the mouth. And then the third version I wanted to also show how else could you have another version to the logged plain shortbread cookies, which I'm going to dip it into the chocolate and show you. So the dipping into the chocolate part and the jam onto the thumbprint cookie part are the attraction to the kids who maybe want some extra flavor to the buttery shortbread cookies. So to begin with the recipe, we are going with the recipe now. The introduction is done. Now I have this baking tray lined with the parchment paper, and you need to preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius and keep it running until you are going to put the tray into the oven. Now I'm going to set this aside until I will need this after my dough is made. Okay. Now, then because like I said in the previous bake along the first week, I am cutting down the portions and keeping them like quite small, so you don't have to bake a lot because we are trying out the recipes, learning along the way. So you don't want to have too much portion and feeding yourself a lot of sugar, and then also you don't want to feed your family also a lot of sugar trying to taste test and all that. Just taste a bit and then maybe you could give it out to your friends. Just this is just a concern about eating too much sugar week after week. Okay. So your friends or relatives or neighbors could also get to know how good you bake and all that. It's just an idea. And said that the portion size is pretty much smaller, so I'm not using my KitchenAid bowl. So I have a bowl here, a glass bowl, and then I also have the ingredients next to me, which are the butter, icing sugar. So the butter goes into the bowl first. I'm going to beat that for about 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, and then I'm going to add the icing sugar into the butter, then vanilla, and the last thing will be flour and salt. And that'll be it. It's a pretty simple recipe. The butter is done. I'm going to beat the butter for some time until the butter gets light and fluffy. 2 minutes. Maybe the butter just becomes soft, and then if the bowl was a little smaller, the butter's color also would change. You could continue to beat till the time. And the next step is to add icing sugar. The icing sugar is already sifted. You don't want to add the icing sugar without the without shifting, or that is going to have lumps, and you don't want that. What I'm going to do to avoid the icing sugar splattering out, and that's going to waste on the measured ingredients, right? So I'm just going to combine it with the butter once with a spatula, and then continue to beat. Here this step is the creaming part, and you want to beat for about 3 to 4 minutes, because the quantity is not much, right? And allow the color to change from this yellow to a little more lighter color, and it also should get a little more fluffy. As you see, while I'm using the bowl and a handheld beater, I am rotating the bowl as well, and then I am also moving the beater. You cannot be just leaving the bowl like that and then keep eating in one place, because you're not going to incorporate all of them, right? And just by moving this one hand, your working hand, is that all enough? Maybe not, because you want the entire thing to combine well. So if you're using a handheld bowl and a handheld beater, then moving this bowl with the hand that is not your, the working hand, and the one for me is the right hand. I'm also going to move my hand beater, and then the bowl I'm going to do it again, so you get to see, because that is important. You cannot be beating just in the middle and not allow the entire content in the bowl to incorporate well. So I want you to watch how the bowl is getting moved and my right hand going around. now that's done. Now I'm going to scrape the bowl and put all the ingredients, the butter and the icing sugar in the middle, and then add vanilla and beat that until it gets incorporated. Now it's quite creamy. As you can see, the bright yellow shade is kind of changed. The colors become pale, and now it's creamy. And what I have with me is the vanilla extract. And I would like to talk about the vanilla that I have used. It is the pure vanilla extract. And if you're going to use artificial vanilla, then you are going to have a bit of aftertaste, which I don't quite like much. So I prefer using real vanilla extract just in case you are looking for that real butter flavor in the cookie. And if you think you are using an artificial vanilla, then skip that. I prefer that because you don't really want to have aftertaste of using not so good vanilla. So I'm adding in the vanilla into the butter and sugar. I mean, vanilla is like, so important to me. As much, not even waste a drop. Put everything in. And going to be just until the vanilla gets incorporated. Okay, now I'm going to add salt. Salt to me, to this cookie, I'd like it on the higher side. So it's 1/4 in the recipe. But if you think you don't want too much salt, you can make it 1/8, half of what is there in the recipe. But I like it this way. Too much sweet without salt is like you can't have so much of it. It feels like you have the sugar rush quite quickly. So that's flour added, all of it in, and then the salt is also added in. And then I'm just going to mix it up first. Just a little bit of beating is enough after this, no over beating after this stage. And it's just going to form a dough, don't worry. Now I just want the flour to get mixed up well. Then now I'm going to beat this just a bit until this is all going to come together and become like a dough. You don't want to overbeat, otherwise it's just going to get very soft and you wouldn't be able to handle much. Okay, so that is how it is going to look. I'm going to remove the beater out. Okay, I'm going to use my fingers and just take all the dough out. Okay, and then I'm going to put this together. Okay, and overbeating would just soften this dough up because it is a cookie, right? You just want it like a dough that is soft but not overly soft. You just want the shape to be holding. Okay, so now this is the dough, that little portion. Now I'm just going to divide this into two parts like I explained. let me just wipe my hands and then the table as well. Okay, now let me begin with, I just want to make 6 thumbprint cookies first, and then with the remaining I'm just going to make the log, with which I'm just going to cut them into the cookie shape and show you. So to begin with, like as the recipe is the thumbprint cookies. Now if you could see it, uh, I'm just going to make a ball that is about an inch. Okay, an inch is like your index finger till here. Okay, the diameter of that could be somewhere within, okay, the diameter will be somewhere within this size. So make a clear ball, and then place it here. You just want to leave about 2 inch at least between each cookie. It is going to flatten up a little bit. You could have, I think you'd have seen there is no baking powder or baking soda, and it is not going to rise much. Okay, so the balls are made. Now I'm going to do the thumbprint into this. This I'm just going to leave it aside. Prefer covering it. You don't want that to dry. So now I'm just going to make the thumbprint. Now thumbprint, it looks like, we usually kind of do that, press it down like that. But then by pressing it down, we are going to crack the edges of this cookie. So instead of keeping your finger flat like that, just put it vertical down in, and that will give you a cleaner edge on the outside. By pressing it like this, you're going to crack the sides and make an uneven outside, and then use your index finger to go in and then smooth out. Now instead of this, like I said, flat in, vertical, use your other hand to just gently take this thumb out and use the index finger to just even out the impression that you have made. Okay, now the impression is made. Into this, I just want to use jam to fill. It's a mixed fruit jam. I think the brand is Kisan. You can use your own homemade jam of any fruit, and soften it up. Maybe, if you have the habit of putting the jam in the fridge, and then if it is like too hard, mix it up and then make it soft. And then I also have a piping bag and scissors, which I will be using to fill up. Now I'm just going to soften up the jam that I have. Now if you are going to make the entire batch into thumbprint, you will need a little more jam, that you can decide as you are making. You could use a jam of any flavor to your preference. Now I'm just feeling that's just enough for 6 cookies, right? The rest are going to be in log shape. Now I'm just going to chop the tip and pipe. You don't want to overfill. You don't want the jam to come out of the cookie, just to the level of where the impression ends. Okay, so this, if you are going to make the entire batch into thumbprint, then the entire tray will be filled with the same thing. Make balls, make the thumbprint, and then fill them with the jam. And now this log part, I need a cling wrap because I'm going to make the shape of the log, and put it in the chiller, like say maybe for an hour or two, after which it will be very firm, and then you need to cut them, which I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to leave this cling wrap. I'm just going to first smoothen out the outside, try and make the log here. So you just want the shape. It could be any size. So if you are going to make the entire batch into this is the second variation. The thumbprint is done. So as the plain shortbread cookies, if you don't want to add additional sweetness, then make this log shape, and it is quite soft, right? Make sure the cling wrap is touching the cookie dough, and going to wrap this. You still have room to kind of work on the shape just in case it's not quite good yet. And now after it goes into the chiller for 2 to 3 hours, and then you can take it out and then cut. Now to show you how to cut and then not keep it waiting for quite a long time until it chills in the chiller. Chiller is the fridge where water just becomes cold, not in the freezer. Okay, not where the water changes into ice. Now this I'm just going to set it aside, and then I'm going to get the other log which was made already and firm now, so I could show you how to cut that. So it doesn't mean I'm using the same thing, I'm repeating. This is soft, this goes into the chiller. I already have made another one which is in the chiller. I'm going to take that out to cut and show once this is firm or how to bake that part. So this you can see is quite firm. Okay, I can just hit and then the shape doesn't change much. It's firm now. Maybe it's taken out and then it is lying here for about uh, half an hour. Just before the live, I had just taken it out. I'm going to open the cling wrap. Okay, then now I'm just going to use a knife, and then see the thickness I would need is about, I think 3 mm would be good. Now you cannot cut this. This is the, at the end you have this, so it may not be flat on both the sides. Now I'll go and then start cutting, cut it through, and then you see you have a really beautiful slice of the cookie dough. Okay, I'm just going to cut and then I'm going to place it. You could maybe, if you are going to cut and then immediately transfer it onto the baking tray, never mind, well and good, doesn't make a big difference. Now, if you are going to do something like me, then the thickness of this version and the thickness of the thumbprint cookie version is not the same, right? So the baking time could vary. Now, I'm going to place this on the baking tray, and it's not going to rise much. So you really don't need a lot of space like any other cookie. So I think I have a good number of both the versions. Now this will go into the oven to bake at 180 degrees Celsius for about 14 minutes is what I first I tried, like, because they you don't want them to be like too brittle and all that. So 10 wasn't sufficient, 14 was good, 10 plus 4. So then the second version, when I tried to bake, 14 minutes is good, but the top is going to be not so much of color change is going to happen on the top, but the underside is going to become golden brown. And there, depending on how much crunchiness you would want, you can increase the baking time by a minute or two. Like it can go to 15 minutes if you want it a little more crunchier, but if you want it softer, then 14 minutes is quite good. Now this will go into the oven to get baked at 180 degrees Celsius for 14 to 16 minutes depending on the end result of the cookie that I would want. Now I'm going to put this and get the one that was baked today morning, because again I don't want to keep you waiting until the baking time is going to happen. Maybe we could chit chat the time, but I thought let me finish with the whole thing, and then once we have the doubts, I'm going to look into the comments and then answer your queries if you have. Now the baked version, I'm just getting it. You can see the underside is not too much of a golden brown, because I like to softer and a tender cookie instead of making it like, snap it so much. This snaps as well, which I'm going to show you, but the melting in the mouth is so much better when it is not, when the underside is not too much of golden brown. So you can see this is the baked version, and the underside you can see is like, not too much of golden brown. You can see one side of it, you can see the color change. And this is the upper side, okay, of both, and this is the underside. And you can see as it drops, that's a good sound, which is firm. And the underside of this thumbprint cookie is also quite good. This is the golden brown, the lighter golden brown that I thought I prefer for my palette. Okay, now I am going to snap one of this and show. Okay, so that's how the texture looks. It snaps quite good, and it is quite stable as well, right? See, I have snapped quite a few. That's how I like it. You could go a little more, like 2 more minutes, and I'm just going to snap one of this to show how it works. Okay, so the jam is quite firm after it's baked, and you can see the texture of the cookie. is quite great as well. Now, these are the two versions. Now, the third version which I wanted to show you was to dip these cookies, the ones, just the shortbread cookies, just the plain ones, in melted chocolate. So now I have dark compound. If you're going to use chocolate, then you have to temper that. You could use compound as a quick fix. Okay, so if you are sure of tempering, then go ahead with chocolate and temper and use it for this purpose. And if you do not know tempering, it's okay, don't fret. You can use compound. The brand that I've used is Vanilla Dark Compound. I'm just mixing it up. It should be like, a few grams just in a bowl. You don't have to really weigh this and measure. Just microwaved this for about, say, maybe 15-second bursts. Okay, so now you have, and you can see it is flowy, right? It can be a little warm, it's okay for it to come down to complete room temperature, and then it's like it's almost set, and the look and feel of it is not going to be great. So now I'm just going to move these cookies aside here. I'm going to create more room for the ones that I'm going to dip it in chocolate, and I'm going to leave it here, and then I'm going to allow it to set in the fridge. Now that's the chocolate and that's the cookie that's baked. I'm going to dip it in either ways, completely in like that or diagonally in as well. For the first step, let me just put it completely in. I'm just tilting the bowl. So even though the bowl is not really full, I could just go a little beyond. Okay, now I have to drip off the excess. Okay, because you don't want too much excess, and as you're going to keep that on the baking paper, too much of chocolate is going to drip on the sides, which you might have to trim later. So for now, dripping off here is a better idea, and also just trying to remove a little bit from the bowl and also keeping the sides covered. So you can see the half of the cookie is covered in chocolate. I'm going to keep it on the butter paper. One more, like the other version I liked, was the diagonal one. Leaving it diagonally in, just tilting the cookie on either sides, and then making sure, because you don't want to really melt a lot of chocolate for this purpose, right? So you could just tilt the bowl and dripping of the excess. So you can keep it uniform, or you could just have the chocolate dipped in different shapes. And so, like people really want to grab, if you are going to, make these for kids and then make it like an attraction, they really want to maybe have different shapes. As I'm just scraping, I also want to check if I am covering up the entire sides of the cookie. Okay, and there is not excess, and this is good to go on the sheet. Now half and half like this. So just the ways, it can be anything you think works good for you, like tilting it in the bowl's hand and the hand that you're holding the cookie, both goes on, dripping of the excess. And now this should go into the fridge for about uh, 10-15 minutes, not more. Don't keep it too long in the fridge, because uh, then there is a lot of condensation, too much water on the chocolate, and then there is panic. Okay, so this I am going to leave it here, while I already have one that I made this morning and put it in the fridge, set it quite well, and I have it here, which I want to take and show you how it has come out. So here's that version. You can see the chocolate is set well. Maybe break one of it. It is still, the snap is happening, and the chocolate is coated on part of the cookie, right? So that is one. And these are the set ones. Like 4 of it, I thought I will set and not wait until these ones are going to set for me to just show you the end of making 3 different versions of the shortbread cookies. One is the thumbprint cookies, this one, and then the plain shortbread cookies, which was cut, made it into a log, keep it in the chiller and make it firm for about 2 to 3 hours, after which take it out and then cut them into the shapes, the rectangle shapes, and bake them, eat it as it is. This is my favorite. And the last version is to dip the plain ones in the chocolate, and half of it is coated in chocolate. So you also have the chocolate flavor together with the shortbread cookie, right? So I think by this we have come to the end of week 2 of Fun Bites Bake Along 2.0 with the thumbprint shortbread cookies. I also had shown you 2 other ways, so totally 3 different ways of making the shortbread cookies.